All right, now for our woes of Week 7. So we're going to start with a three-headed woeful monster with teams that lost their quarterbacks. Now, two of these teams were losers on the field in terms of the final score, and that is NC State and Minnesota. So in the NC State game, they were playing without Devin Leary. We learned that he is now gone for the season with a torn pec that he has to get surgically repaired. The Wolfpack averaged just 3.7 yards per play under backup quarterback Jack Chambers. So you really have to wonder, with that running game struggling a little bit, either that has to greatly improve, or you wonder if there's another quarterback aside from Jack Chambers that might give them some sort of spark. I mean, Dave Doran's been there a while. You figure that they've been recruiting quarterbacks that can fit that system, and Chambers was a transfer from FCS Charleston Southern. I wonder if maybe looking to number 3 might not be a bad idea there. Minnesota, in a loss against Illinois, a good Illinois team, they lost their starting quarterback, Tanner Morgan, the face of that program since P.J. Fleck has been there. He's been the quarterback ever since a redshirt freshman season. He had to go to the hospital mid-game, and even though Coach Fleck talks about the possibility that he might be available this week on a night road game in a whiteout condition against Penn State, I would be very surprised to see Tanner Morgan play in that game. I think that even with him, Minnesota's going to have their hands full against a reeling Nittany Lion team who is ticked off after a 41-point yielding to a good Michigan team. So hoping that he recovers at the right pace and in the right way, because I think Minnesota still has a lot of good stuff to play for this year. And then Maryland, even though they beat Indiana, lost Talia Tungavailoa for an unknown amount of time. He was carted off the field, so that certainly is not promising. But their backup, Billy Edwards, I liked him. I was singing his praises after seeing him in the Wake Forest spring game, and then literally the day after I posted that, he puts himself in the transfer portal, ends up at Maryland, and now he's got the chance to be the starting quarterback for the Terps. And I think that they can still do some really good things offensively with him at the helm, not only because they've got a very good receiving core and a good complement of backs that kind of complement that passing game, but Billy Edwards himself, like I said, I really like this young kid, and I think that he could be the future of Maryland football at quarterback. Wisconsin, they fall to 3-4 in a disappointing and kind of head-scratching loss to Michigan State, especially seeing how Michigan State had given up mucho points in their 4 losses this year. And really the only 2 wins they have are against MAC opponents Akron and Western Michigan, neither of whom are lighting that conference on fire this season. And, you know, Jim Leonard, fresh off a victory at Northwestern last week, they come back looking to go 2-0 in his interim campaign here. Really a bad loss to a not very good, a poor Michigan State team in that one. Notre Dame, really baffled by this. They lost to a struggling Stanford team who was winless against the FBS coming into that matchup with the Fighting Irish. Not only did they lose, they lost at home. They lost in a night game. They have such an inept offense right now. Their injuries, I know, have played a part in that, but Drew Pine is not giving many Irish fans a lot of confidence that he's the guy moving forward. But, you know, do you tap into that youth, or do you just kind of take the lumps this year and build for the oncoming future? The defense couldn't get timely stops. They were up 14-13 late in the game and allowed Stanford to drive to get the eventual game-winning field goal, and then could not come through offensively when they needed to at the end. And you look at their resume, okay? Marshall, who they lost to, Marshall has lost 3 in a row since beating the Irish. They're now 3-3. BYU, who they beat, got beat up and is now 4-3 and is not really looking as strong of a team as they appeared to be on the early onset of 2022. Cal, who the Irish beat, just lost to Colorado. Colorado, who got their first win of the season this year, and I think snapped, like an 11-game losing streak dating back to last year. So that win over Cal certainly doesn't look good. And as you look ahead, the Irish have to play at Syracuse, against Clemson at home, who's most likely going to be a top 5, maybe even a top 3 team by then, home against a scrappy Navy team, and then at USC. Now, there's other games in there as well against UNLV and another one I'm drawing a blank on right now, but those 4 opponents in the remaining part of their schedule, Syracuse, Clemson, Navy, and USC, all going to be very tough to get a win there. So they could be looking at best a 2-2 split, but they might even be looking at a 1-3 overall against those 4 opponents. So woes for the Irish, and my heart goes out to all you Irish fans because I've got my boy Bip, family blood, who's there. But kudos to you Spartan fans for beating the Wisconsin Badgers. So shout out to my brother Josh as well. I'm Chappy, and this is what I know.